Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Coder's Journey. This is episode number 10 of our course, Clean Architecture. So I hope you've already watched the previous episodes and you're ready to watch episode number 10, which is dedicated to the topic, to the concept of factory method pattern. So in this episode, what we are going to do is to refine the domain entity that we've got. Right now we've got only one single domain entity called employee. We're going to add more domain entities as we go along. And I have told you numerous times, nothing needs to be perfect, right? You're going to refine your model little by little, gradually. And I have decided to show you different techniques, different, strategies that you can use in order to refine your model. And the topic of this video is yet another strategy, another technique that you can use. The factory method pattern. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you the idea behind this concept, and we're going to implement it inside of our project. So let's get started. So in this episode, we transform the way employee instances are created. Right now, if I take a look at the employee, you see that I've got this public constructor, the only constructor. We've got these guard clauses, and then if these guard clauses pass, we're going to set the properties of our entity. That's the way it is right now, but we're going to change that. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you why we need to do that, or why I think we should do that, right? Of course, we can go with this constructor as well. You don't have to, necessarily implement the factory method pattern, but it makes more sense to do this, and I want you to be familiar with it as well. Back to the notes. Instead of exposing the constructor of the employee, we now make it private. Why? Because this gives us control over object creation. We need to have more control. So a public constructor is not enough for us. By making this private, we prevent the consumer of our entity to be able to create instances of the entity directly. We want to allow the consumer, the client of our code, to invoke another method, another create method, for example, and then create objects. That would allow us to invoke side effects as well. So side effects are things that you need to happen, right, as the byproduct of the creation of an employee, for example. So for example, suppose whenever an employee is created, you want to send out a message, right, to that employee, to a RabbitMQ, I don't know, topic, whatever. This is a side effect. By introducing the factory method pattern, you can handle side effects, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can implement this. So publishing domain events, I'm going to show you what domain events are, how you can use domain events to introduce side effects into your domain model, and how they can help you to decouple different parts of your domain model, and how those domain events can convey meaning about something that has happened in your domain, like for example, an employee being created. So this is what we are going to do, guys. Right now, we're gonna mark our constructor as private. As you can see here, right now it is public. We're going to make it private. And then we're going to introduce a public method, which is usually called, create. It's static. So in order to call this, you do not need to have an instance of the employee type. You can call it directly on the type, right? A static method. And it's going to take in the, values that the constructor needs, and of course it's gonna kind of create an employee using the private constructor inside of the employee type, and it's gonna return that newly created type. Let me take you to the code. Let me navigate to episode number 10, and this is the way we are doing this. As I showed you, the constructor is now private. So it is impossible to call this method from outside of this class, right? The client, the consumer, the client of your code needs to go through this public static create method, right? In order to be able to kind of create an employee. So I think I need to remove this as well, right? So inside of this create method, as you can see here, right, we are calling the private constructor here, right? And we are setting the different values for the input parameters of this private constructor, and when the employee object is created, we're gonna return it. So this, as I showed you, gives us more control over the way the employee objects are created. One very useful piece of, let's say, control that you can enforce using this approach is that you can invoke some side effects when an employee is created. And by side effects, I mean things that need to happen as the result of an employee object being created. And in order to implement side effects, one very good approach is to introduce domain events. Right? So domain events help you to decouple different parts of your of your domain, and you can emit, you can publish those domain events using, like, for example, the mediator library, and then you can handle those domain events and react to them. If you don't know anything about the mediator library, which is something that we're going to use in order to implement our domain events, I highly recommend that you take a look at the course that I've got here on my channel about the mediator library and CQRS. There is this concept in the mediator library called notifications that we're going to use to implement domain events. And even though, for example, right now, even though the topic of this video was the implementation of the factory method, chances are I have refined the other value objects that we've got here, right? So what I want you to do is to take the source code of this project and go through each chapter, each, let's say, episode, each branch of my repository one at a time, and go through the different refinements that I have made to the code. I told you right now the topic of this episode is this kind of private constructor and the public static factory method, but we're not gonna wrap up this discussion. In the next episode, I'm gonna show you exactly how having this public static create method is gonna help us to publish domain events. I told you one of the advantages of having this public static create method, this factory method pattern, is to be able to emit domain events as a result of, for example, the object being created. So don't stop here. Keep watching the next episode, and I'm going to show you how to use the mediator library to introduce domain events. Again, if you don't know anything about the mediator, don't worry, because there is a playlist on my channel about the mediator library. You can watch the videos there to get yourself familiar with this tool, with this library. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode. Again, if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, give it a like. That really motivates me, helps me to continue recording these videos for you. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.